Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the power of compound interest. Would it surprise you to know that if you can save $10 a day, you can be a millionaire through the power of compound interest. So that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. Going through what is compound interest, why it matters, some examples of how it practically works, some common myths and mistakes people make with it, and then finally how you can actually use this to be a benefit for yourself.
I love it.
Welcome in.
I love it. And my favorite thing about compounding interest is that it's my number one employee. It is my one employee across all of my companies that never asked for a raise. It works 24/7. And honestly, if you do it right, it will outperform almost any other employee dollar for dollar and moment for moment. So, great topic.
Even more than chat?
Say it again?
I said even more than chat?
Chat? You mean chat?
Chat GPT?
Oh! Oh, yeah, your AI, it's starting to get expensive, I gotta tell you. Yeah.
By the way, I see you took some inspiration.
I see the best. I want to be a part of them. So it took me about 7 years to grow this much facial hair. Actually, I can't even grow. I can't even grow facial hair. Like I can barely get what looks like like there. If you really pay attention, there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of gaps. So just don't look too closely, and it'll be gone. It's in today, gone tomorrow.
Nice. All right. Very nice. Yeah, compound interest, it's interesting. When I was in college, I did a couple presentations on this, and it for whatever reason a lot of people don't really understand how to actually use the benefits of compound interest. So, that'll be a great topic to get into today. All right. Well, first thing I wanted to talk about is what is compound interest? Romans, you're the accountant. What is compound interest?
What? Oh my gosh! You want me to? All right. So compounding interest is interest that I have to read off a sheet because I've never actually defined it before. But let me see. What's the do you actually have a definition here? Earning
Oh no,
interest.
I just assumed you'd know.
I I don't. I've never actually described it. I think it's interest earned on interest. I don't actually know how
Yeah.
else to describe it. Uh,
Yeah, that's I think probably the best way to describe it, interest on your interest. But compound interest, practically what it is when you invest your money or get interest on a bank or something like that. When you reinvest that money or keep that money in your bank, your interest starts to earn interest. So not only the original money that you had in there, but also the money that you keep in there. So for example, you have $200 in a bank account, you get $2 in interest. Next time you receive an interest payment, it's on $202 instead of $200. So at first, it may seem a little bit small, but when you expand the time horizon, which is kind of really the big key with compound interest, the further back you look, the greater those snowball effect can actually be. It starts pretty small, but can very quickly snowball and get very, very fast. In fact, uh, Albert Einstein, I believe, was the one who said he called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And he said it's the most powerful force in the universe.
wow.
So, Albert Einstein is that in on compound interest. You probably should be too.
Yeah, and if you have technology and Albert Einstein's around, he'll take it from you and claim it as his own.
Okay.
That's for the super sleuths out there as to what that was referencing. I'll leave it there. I'll just leave it at that.
There we go. Yeah. So the main difference between compound interest and simple interest is the interest on interest. So some things will have simple interest that's simple interest basically is an interest payment that gets immediately paid to you and cannot be reinvested, which is good. But the power of compound interest is that over the years, when your interest is able to get interest, it starts to snowball. It's very small at first, but 10, 15, 20 years down the line, it gets really, really big. And you'll kind of see some practical examples of that when we get into some of the more detailed parts of our talk today.
It might help to just give them a super simple example and just do $10. If you have $10, simple interest at 10%, you get $1 back. Right? So if you have simple interest, you have $10 at 10%, you get $1. Simple interest means you get that $1 taken out, and next year that same $10 earns 10%, earns another dollar. So you've
Mm-hmm.
earned $2 in 2 years. Compounding interest, the first year is still the same at $11, but the second year now has $11 that earns 10%. And I just think at the most basic level, you can see that it's only a dime, only 10 cents more. But that's an example with $10. Imagine at 1,000 and all this examples. You'll get into it, but
Yeah.
hopefully, if you heard that and could follow along, that's the difference between simple and compounding, which I just realized after 40 something years, I've never had to use words to explain what compounding interest is. I've always used numbers, so that's like, wait, how do you, what words do you say?
Fair enough. Yeah. But I think it's important to be able to kind of explain it because, we're both numbers guys, but a lot of you guys in the audience aren't necessarily the numbers guys. So wanted to try to put it in some terms that are easy to understand. So the real power of compound interest is not the interest itself, but it's the time. Like Romans was just saying with that example of $10. The first couple of years, it makes a small difference. So I want you at home. I'm going to give you a scenario, and you tell me who you think in this scenario would have more money. So in the first scenario, there's a person who's able to save $200 a month from ages 20 to age 30. They then stop, but they keep that money invested. Alternatively, there's someone who invests $200 a month from age 30 to age 65. So that's 10 years on the first side and then 35 years on the second side. Between those two people, who do you think has the most money? The person who invested from age 20 to age 30 or the person who invested from age 30 to age 60?
Well,
So you have 10 years versus 35 years.
I, I,
Romans, what do
I,
you think?
well, I'll let you answer the question, but I want to say it another way. The first person invested $24,000 and then stopped. The other person invested $84,000. So the second person invested almost 3 times the amount as the first person. And then you're saying who has more at the age 65? And your first person who invested for 10 years started 10 years earlier. And I think that's
Correct.
the other part to this. So 10 years only, but 10 years earlier. So I will, well, the problem is I know the answer because I've heard this kind of stuff before. So
Yeah.
I'll be what I think anyone else will listen, that what I'm hoping you'll say as you listen to this, that it was a second person because they invested $84,000 over 35 years. They made more money. So who has more money at 65?
This will probably surprise not you, Romans, but the audience. The first person actually has vastly more money. In fact, they have about $400,000 more in that situation because of the power of those first 10 years. So, person A, depending on how the calculation works, has somewhere between in the ballpark of 1.2 to 1.3 million dollars. And then person B has about 800 to $900,000. So still a good amount of money, but like you just said, that second person invested $84,000 and that first person only $24,000. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this episode was start now. You may not have a lot of money to start putting away for investing. Um, but if you're young, your age is worth more than gold because you have years to be invested. And every additional year that you start earlier is going to pay dividends on the back end. It's super, super important. It's kind of like the same type of same type of idea as if you're playing a game for a long period of time. The more XP you'll be able to rack up in that game. Similarly, with compound interest, the longer you play, the more you get.
I love it, and I'm actually doing the math on my end because I'm just kind of curious to see how it. I actually want to see the numbers. This is how you know
Well,
whether you're a math person or not. The fact that he just gave you a math example, and the first thing I want to do is I want to see the numbers by the month, and I want to see that bad boy climb. So I'm a little distracted. You'll just have to run the rest of the podcast while I get to play with my
if
numbers because I find it interesting.
so, speaking of interesting, if you ever just kind of want to see a visual example of this, something that's kind of fun to do is just Google a compound interest calculator. Throw in some numbers, and a lot of them, when you Google it, will have a graph that will show you how the money grows. I actually do this with my clients when I'm presenting my financial plans to them. Run what's called a Monte Carlo simulation, and it will project out their retirement growth over a long period of time. And it'll show you how it's an exponential curve, but it also shows you the amount of interest you earned each year. And you just see the slice of the pie just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Usually it's in like a bar chart, and you see the amount invested and then kind of goes like this, just kind of on an upward straight line. But you see the interest that gets paid and it just starts absolutely outpacing that. And when you're talking about like 30, 40 years, each additional year, you're not talking about like a couple $1,000s. You're talking about tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest if you're doing this over a long period of time.
Well, that's super exciting, and I can't wait to play with this later because I can't pay attention and do calculations.
Well, lucky for you, I have some examples.
Oh, do you? Oh, tell me more.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned on one of the later episodes of the podcast, I recently finished Expedition 33. Fantastic game. So I want to give you some examples just with some of the characters. I use them for names. So first example I wanted to give is kind of some situations and what the final amount that they saved were. Um, so first example, I'll go through all the examples, let you guys at home decide who you think has the most money, and then kind of go through where they actually were at. So the first situation, very similar to what we were just talking about, is Gustav. He's able to save $200 a month from age 20 to age 33, and then he stops, never invests again, just stays there and is invested. Another situation, we have Lune. She's able to save about $200 a month, not 200,000, $200 a month over the course of her whole life. But she's not quite sure about investing, so she just puts that in Lumiere's bank um, and just invests that. And then lastly, we have CL. She does not save any money, but when she gets back from her expedition, she gets a raise and is now able to put $400 a month away and invest that for the rest of her life. At age 65, who do you think has the most money?
Wow, that is
So,
some serious scenarios to jam in your mind.
so CL, she's starting later, but she's putting in twice as much money as Gustav. Lune is only investing in the bank. I mainly put this in here just to show you the power of compound interest. And then Gustav again has that early window.
All right, so you got the
What do you
Gustav.
guys think?
So you got Gustav who's kind of goes early and then stops
Mm-hmm.
early, and then you have CL who starts late and goes heavy. Did you say
Yeah,
when she
twice
how old is she when she starts putting the 400 per month?
33 after
Oh,
the expedition.
okay. So she gives 400 a month for 32 years, and Gustav
Mm-hmm.
gives it for about 13 years and then stops. But then you're going
Yep.
all the way to the age of 65, so his money is still working.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, his money started working 13 years earlier than CL's, and
Correct.
then Lune is kind of like the control. She's just shoving her money, and it's
Mm-hmm.
uh
She's scared about investing, so she just puts that in a bank.
right, and it's earning almost nothing.
Yeah. I just for the sake of argument gave it something and put it at 0.5%.
Yeah, that's what
So
1.50. So I'm gonna
yeah.
guess on behalf of the listeners that they would have paid attention to your first example, and they will bet on Gustav, the guy who invested early and stopped early, and unlike the
Yeah.
game, died at a ripe old age.
Okay, just coming out and spoiling it. All right. I yeah, I see how it is.
The game's been out
Spoiler
long enough.
warning
I
for
was just being
for
nice.
Expedition 33.
I was just being nice to you. I wasn't being nice to anybody else.
Oh, rip our boy. Oh, rip Gustav.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you are correct. So even though Lune, or not even though CL is putting in twice as much money for 32 years, she still doesn't get the same amount as Gustav. So rounding it out, Gustav at the end of, at 65 has about $1.2 million saved. CL's close, but she only has 965,000. So she's still about 200,000, 200, $300,000 less than Gustav, even though she's investing $400 a month. And then Lune, this is where it gets sad. Gustav is at 1.2, CL is at 965,000. Lune's only at $120,000. Think about that. That's the difference of investing or just putting money in a bank. Even in that, and I threw in a fourth situation here. If in that same situation, Lune is, if Mael was in that same situation, but she started saving and investing that money, that same situation from age 20 to age 65, that would be $1.7 million. So essentially, Lune lost $1.6 million because she was scared of investing.
You know what you make me think of as a father of two? We have accounts for our kids, but I kind of want them to make their own accounts. The way I did do this since my kids were born, I've been putting money away for each of them since they entered this world.
Hmm.
So in theory, they'll be fine. But a part of me thinks you should do it yourself. So I'm starting to think
That's
maybe my kids need to control their own destiny, if you will. Obviously, God controls it all, but they need
hmm
to, God wants us to work hard for Him. So they need to
yeah,
invest hard for Him. Ooh, that could be a thing. Invest hard for God in yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
That's all my company is about, is investing for the Lord and being diligent with what, and a good steward of what you've been given. Because our money's not just our own; it's actually given to us by God to steward for Him. So this isn't just your money that you're responsible for, it's God's. And I do truly believe that we're supposed to be held to account for that. So are you going to be the one who lost $1.6 million for God because you were scared of investing? Like that's legitimately the power of compound interest. $1.6 million.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you should start today. It sounds like you need to go to blank.com, not sponsored, so I'm not saying anybody's name, but you should invest somewhere
Yeah.
as soon as possible. I think the only reason why you shouldn't, and this is more of a crown financial thing, you got to dig yourself out of the debt hole. If
Yeah.
you are in debt and you are paying, if you are paying credit card debt, imagine everything we talked about where we're like 5%, 10%. Your credit card is at 24% or some 18%, something
Yeah.
35%.
Yeah.
Like us as consumers and individuals, we can't even earn the same rates our credit cards charge. So, quick
Yeah.
caveat: get out of credit card debt. Then you need to immediately do what we're talking about.
And it's a good point because compound interest can work for you and it can really be great for you, but it can also work against you. And credit card debt is where compound interest works the hardest against you because if you're not keeping up with your payments and still having that credit card interest rack up, you have no idea how fast that balance is going to get racked up to a balance that you're maybe never going to be able to pay back. So that this is one of the reasons why we're so aggressive to pay off your credit cards because if you even just missed a couple months of payments, that interest that you rack up can be devastating.
Yep, yep, yep. So yeah, but for let's assume the people listening to this are in a good position, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are in good positions that just have zero interest. Oh, that's a joke.
Mhm.
They have zero interest in any of this, and they
Yeah.
are being the lunes, which is kind of funny because lune is from the word moon, which I think correlates to crazy or something like that. So it's very much in line with absolutely insane if you're not in debt and not investing in your future in some
Yeah.
repeating, compounding interest type way. I just looked at one
Yeah.
of my accounts and it's earning between 10% and 25% since 2019, except for the year 22, which went negative 10%. But
Yeah.
every other year, minimum 10% to as high as 25%. Boy, was I happy when that year happened. Uh, and so the power of interest, and I saw it later in the notes, the rule of 72. I actually
Yeah.
operate. I operate. I'll let you explain what the rule of 72 is, but I like when my investments reach that number because
Mhm.
I like to see my money double. It's
Yeah.
one of those things, and
Yeah.
it takes money to make it. So maybe you're listening to this and you only have 3,000 in your bank account. It's better than zero. Praise God. It's sad it's not 3
Yeah.
million or 30,000 or 300,000, some other crazy number. But if you don't start and just make the 3,000, 3,200 next month, I got to tell you, you can cry all you want, but you're not doing anything about it. So, did you eat outside? If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I can't participate, and you bought food outside of your very home, and you paid more than $3 for that meal, you micromanager style missed out an opportunity to invest in yourself, because you can still feed
Mhm.
yourself for around $3 per meal if you cook at home and you're not doing fancy things. And so you should not pay $18. Where did I go? I went to lunch today with a very cool guy. I won't spoil it because I don't know, whatever. I went to lunch with a really cool dude. Very he makes a game I love, and it's a AAA game. I paid $18 for that lunch, and I might be cheap, but when I saw that, I'm like, man, I paid $18 for today's lunch. Worth it for the
Mhm.
fellowship and making a friend. But I can't believe I looked across the room like all these people are paying $18 right now for lunch when you could eat
Mhm.
at home and spend three, maybe four. Fine, you want to go fancy, spend five. I
Still
that's
still a lot less.
that's if you could spend $3 and I spent 18, that's $15 you could have invested in this very conversation. Do
Mhm.
that that's 5 days a week. I hope you probably go out on the weekends, but that's 5 meals a week. That's $65. Like
Yeah.
if you're doing that, if this conversation you feel like this doesn't relate to me, this is only for rich people, and you spent $65 eating out this week, you're one of the rich people. You're just not doing it the way rich people do it.
Yeah.
So, and I cried
Yeah.
when I paid that $18 for lunch. I'm just saying that because I'm hashtag cheap.
Yeah.
If you listen to
And
our points episode, credit cards versus points, you'll know I'm very cheap. All
hacking the points, yeah, still don't agree with that. But on to another thing. So what are some ways you can actually do this? Like, how do you get started? So, like Roman said, there's a bunch of companies that will allow you to open accounts. If you don't want to be like tied to any like retirement savings or anything like that, it's super, super easy to open a brokerage account. There's a ton of companies that will allow you to open a free brokerage account that you can link to your bank account and send auto deposits. It's so, so easy. You can even set it up to automatically buy a mutual fund or an ETF so that the money goes in, automatically buys the investments. You don't even have to think about it. It just automatically happens in the background. All it takes is about 15, 30 minutes of work on the front end, and then you're doing this and you don't have to think about it anymore. It'll just automatically do it for you. So you can do that. There's also, if you want to invest for retirement, most people, if you work for a company, there's a retirement option with your company. You should be taking advantage of that. Alternatively, if you don't, if you're a streamer, you work for yourself, you can start a Roth IRA. That is the best tool for investing for retirement because the money you put in there grows tax free. In that example that I gave earlier, where Mael was at $1.7 million, almost all of that would be completely tax free. The government doesn't get to see any of that because you've already paid taxes on the money you invested. And then when you're in retirement, you just get to enjoy that money without any of it going to Uncle Sam. So it's very, very important. And what Romans was talking about earlier, too, the rule of 72, it's called the rule of 72 because it's a tool that you can use to see about how long it will take your money to double. You take your interest rate that you're expecting to average. Stock markets average about 10%. You divide it by 72, and that's about how long it takes your money to double. So if you average 10%, it's going to take you a little over 7 years to double your money. So if you invest for 21 years, 22 years, you're going to have your money double 3 times. If you invest for 28 years, that's 4 times your money has doubled. So get started now, even if it's with a small, small amount of money, even if it's only $10. I would ask, if you are not investing this week, right now, after you hear the episode, find a place to set up an auto transfer of $10 a week. If that's all you can do, great. Just get started and let it start investing and growing for you. One of the things I wanted to talk about too, a lot of people, have a goal of eventually, imagine about becoming a millionaire. I ran the numbers, and if you want to be a millionaire, I started at age 35. This is what you would have to save in a day. So if you're 35, starting on the top end, this is where you don't have as much time to work for you. But if you're able to save and invest $17 a day, think about what are some things you could potentially cut back on. You can have $1 million by the time you retire. If you're 30, all you need is $10 a day. If you're 25, all you need is 6. And if you're 20, my goodness, please, please start investing. All you would need is $3 a day to have $1 million by the time you retire. I mean, that's one Starbucks coffee. That's less than a Starbucks coffee. And I know some of you young people will get a Starbucks or a Monster or something every single morning before school, before work. Just save that money and you have $1 million by the time you retire.
I love it. I just wonder how. So I long ago I knew about this and I couldn't figure out how to actually invest $3. Like where do I put? Like what am I buying with $3? Like hello, I'd like
Yep.
to buy $3 of stock, Mister Stock Exchange.
So you're not able to buy stock with $3, but you can buy a mutual fund because mutual funds, how they work is essentially at the end of every day, whatever new money is being put into the mutual fund goes into the mutual fund. New shares of the mutual fund are written, and then they use that money to invest it. So you're able to buy like fractional shares of a mutual fund. So like even if you're putting in $3, it can automatically go into that mutual fund, and it'll be invested for you. You can't do that with stocks or with ETFs, but mutual funds are a great tool for that to get started.
Yeah, and I wanted to back the train up a little bit on the old Roth IRA thing. Roth
Hmm.
IRAs are really good if you're already making good money. And if you're not making good money and you're young, I don't know where I stand on it. I'm kind of more on the fence on it because I feel like you're paying lower interest, you're in a lower tax bracket, so does it really matter type conversation. But I wanted to tell and there's a limit, isn't there? What's the limit on Roth IRAs? Isn't there like an annual limit per year of how much you can?
$7,000.
Okay. So Roth IRAs really are great starting points. And I will tell you,
Hmm.
interest rates have only gone up. In my 44 years of life, the tax rates have gone up since when I first entered this world. So it's just one of those things where taxes are only going higher. So Roth IRA makes more sense, in my opinion, like kind of the older you get, because you don't want, when there's a thing where if you're too rich, the tax rates later are so bad, you're going to wish you invested through a Roth IRA. And for more advanced listeners, there's a way to get more than 7,000 into your
There is, yeah.
account. But it takes someone like Scruffy to do that kind of stuff. You can't do it yourself. Yeah, I wanted to throw that. But back to your thing about $3 a day, $6 a day, $10 a day, or $17 a day. At $3 a day, it's only $1,095. But what I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
about, if you did $1,095 once a year, I guarantee you it does less than if you did $3 as you went. It goes back to the
Yeah.
original point of this lesson of compounding interest. If I could earn 10% every day instead of 1,095 and then getting times 10%, which is $110, if you did 10% starting at $3 and worked your way up, it'll mean way more, not only in that first year, but now we're fast forwarding. If you're 20 to the age of 65, that's 45 years.
Hmm.
45 years of putting money to work. You want to put, that's why if you listen back to the very beginning of this episode, I said how compounding interest is my best employee because it works every day. Some folks would hear this and like, okay, so $3 a day is $1,095. So really what you're saying is I just need to invest $1,095 once a year. And that's actually not what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're actually telling you to invest literally $3 a day in some type of program, mutual fund, whatever solution that exists that will activate and put it to work. You need to really pay attention because I used to be in this fund. I forget who it was, but I was so annoyed when I found out invest the money I put in it once a month. And like I'm
Yeah.
putting money in it every paycheck. So every two
Yeah.
weeks I'm putting money in this thing. You only activate the amount I put in there once a month? What's the
Yeah.
point? Is it at least earning interest while it's waiting for the next 2 weeks? And the answer was no. So like I'm like,
Mm.
who's making money on my money? Even though
Hmm.
imagine at that time, let's imagine this is a working man's salary, so I don't know, what 2 weeks. It was no more than $100 probably. Probably less than
Yeah.
$100 every paycheck. But my point is somebody out there was making money on my money. And I'm just one employee. Imagine it's $100 on one
Hmm.
employee. There's 1,000 employees at that company, at that one
Yeah.
company. Some dude out there is making money hand over fist, waiting for all the money to come in for the whole month to then invest it.
Hmm.
Oh man, I was so furious. I took the money out and started investing it myself. I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, and
Yeah.
so I would invest every paycheck. I immediately would fund my
Yeah.
account, and I went through. I'll say this: I had a good experience with Vanguard, and I would just immediately put in Vanguard, buy that index fund, whatever it was. I forget what fund it was. Started with a V something V. I don't know.
Most of them start with V's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All the
Oh,
Vanguards start with V's.
all right, Mr. Investor guy. All right, so whatever. All right, I just remember starting with a V. Okay, what do you want from me? That's your job. That's your job. You figured out which one it was. I'll give you a clue. It had like 5 or 6 letters and started with a V. Now, which one was it? All right, good.
Well, the most popular one is VGT, is their technology fund, but
Okay.
that has 3 letters. So
Oof. So I wasn't even investing in the right one. Where were you? Where were you when I was in my 20s? Were you still in
not born,
utero? You probably were.
not born.
Not born. Oh God. All right. So good. So
Old man Romans.
that's right. Back in my day, we had to like use an abacus. All right. So well, that's the end of the
But
thing.
also,
Yeah. Go for
yeah,
it.
if anyone has any questions about like where to invest or how to get started, reach out to me. In the description of the episode will be a link to my Discord and then to my website. Like, if legitimately, if you have any questions, reach out. I'll help you get it set up. It's super, super easy. Everyone should be doing this. You have no excuse not to do this. Even if it's, $10 a paycheck, $20 a paycheck, get started. You will thank yourself later.
And not to, this is a flex. This is a flex comment, but I happened to check one of my accounts for a different reason. And the rule of 72 played out. My money doubled since 2019, right? When I averaged
There you
between
go.
10 and 25%, I hit a couple years where it was 20%. My that account doubled. So,
Yeah.
and so you maybe you're listening to this, oh, that's a you thing, but I'm just saying, where were you in 2019? I hope you listen to this. My challenge to you is, where were you in 2019? Where did you invest your money? It's
Mm-hmm.
2025 now. It's 6 years later. Where did you invest your money? And if you haven't started, you should start today, so that when you listen to our podcast in 2031, I will say to you, it's 2031. Remember, in 2025, I invested in XYZ, and I did that. Now it's 2031. What did you do back then? And did your
Yeah.
money double or not? You have to start. You have to try. You have to start. If you don't
Yeah.
start, it won't do it. And right now, your money should double every 7 years. Is kind of my point of the comment I made.
Yep.
2019 through 2025. There's a reason why I said that. Literally, it's 7 years of active investment, and it doubled.
And that was with a bad year too, a really bad year in
22.
2022. That was a bad year, and your money still doubled.
Yeah, I went negative 10% in 22.
That's
So
actually not that bad.
that's pretty cool, right? I was surprised. I was like,
That's
oh,
pretty good.
I
That's
only.
pretty good.
Hey, hey. So, all right. So that's the end of the episode. Start now. Start today. Get rich later. I know maybe the counterpoint someone's gonna say, when I turn 65, $1 million is nothing. But you know what else is nothing? Nothing is nothing. So I hope you have $1 million when you're 65. Even if it's nothing, don't be a cynic. Start today and get
Yeah.
going. And hopefully you have more than that. I'll give you one last tidbit. I have a goal when I hit 65 that I have an active 5 million, not in my retirement account, but in my active giving account. So I'll have
Mm.
5 million, and I'll be giving away the interest every year until the day I die. And then when I die, someone out there will get the principal, or my kids will continue to run it as some type of endowment fund or something like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And growing your compound interest can work for giving too. There's some really great ways to do it. I'm sure you're probably already utilizing them. But man, talk about some fun you can have with money when you're able to every year have interest that you can just give away to things that matter to you, and you're not actually spending any money because it's just interest to you. Man, you can have some real fun and bless some people radically with that.
that's what I'm talking about. That's my 5 million fund. The interest
Yep.
will have a minimum of 250,000 and higher every year, depending on how it performs. Could be $500,000. Imagine for the rest of your days giving away $500,000 to worthy charities and people who need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how rich people do it. You know.
That's how you have fun with money.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of DLC, a finance podcast. Pinecast?
This is why I do the outro.
All right, you do.
This is why
I
do the
tried.
outros.
I tried. No more outros. I'm out. I'm fired. Do it.
Oh, this has been Dollars Lifestyle and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. We be sure. Oh, Reach Conference. We didn't talk about Reach Conference. Come to Reach Conference, November 4th through
What?
the
Now,
8th?
now, now,
No.
now, who's not doing the outros? November 6th
Listen,
through
you're the
8th.
reach guy. I'm the 6th through
All right,
8th.
let's stay in our lanes, okay? You never talk about Reach Conference. You only talk about the outros. You talk about what the heck the show is called, and I'll worry about it. I'll just tell you, when you listen to this, we have Catherine Lidston of Chosen and Caitlin Glass of Funimation coming out. And so, if you love
Huge.
anime or you love Chosen, I got two superstars coming to talk about their journey in industry. So there you go.
Yeah. So come to Reach. This has been Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. See ya.
See ya.